First of all, I'm very excited to be with you guys this morning. I get the privilege to talk to you guys about, if we want to go ahead and take notes, just write down the word negotiating. We're going to talk about negotiating today. And here's what we all know. If you're alive and breathing and you're taking listings, then we know you're making income in this market. But as I thought about it last night, that I was going to have this conversation with everyone this morning, I feel that it's more important than ever for us to really make sure that we have our negotiation skills in place, because think about what we're seeing. I know here in California, on average, we're seeing 10, 20 offers in properties, sometimes in some cases, 20, 30 offers. There was a situation I was in recently, and there was 47 offers on the property. I've been around the business since 1995, but as I'm having conversations with colleagues and with people in the industry, it kind of seems like this is something that we haven't seen like in a very, very long time. So, prices, the reality is they haven't just gone up. They've skyrocketed and they've taken it off. I see memes out there that kind of comparables don't even matter, right? Just because of what buyers are paying out there in the market. So here's just some things that I want all of us to consider, and let's go ahead and write down number one. Most agents I have found, they consider themselves very good at negotiating. But the reality is, as I've had conversations and I've been in a coaching role, is that most really are not that good at negotiating, and the reason that I feel like that's because they lack the skills. So let's write that down. Most agents consider themselves very good at negotiating, but the reality is that they're not, because they lack the skills to do that. Now, write down the word negotiating equals, it's bringing two parties together, and we're getting these two parties to agree on what makes sense to both parties regarding the transaction itself. Because at the end of the day, negotiating is being able to ask a lot of great questions. And it's important that we ask these questions because we got to find out what the parties are thinking about, ultimately what their motives are, what their timelines are, and what they're ultimately trying to accomplish. Negotiating at the end of the day is asking questions. One thing that I have found that we tend to lack, and I struggle with it, which is listening. Because if we listen, we're going to give advice based on what's going on in the market and based on our skills. Now, I want us to ask ourselves this question. Just if we look at just a little bit that I've shared, the reality is if we're not doing any of the above, then we're probably not that good at negotiating. Because it's interesting. In a perfect world, right, we would list the property at fair market value. We would get one offer at that asking price, somebody with a fully approved loan with a short close, and we would accept that offer, and that would be it. But let me ask you guys a question. Does that really happen? It doesn't, right? So that's why it's very important that we work on these skills, because at the end of the day, there's a responsibility that we have to our clients. We have to create a great experience for them. We have to give them the service that they deserve, and most importantly, the results that they deserve. So I want us to write the second point. We have to control what we say to the client. We have to understand that the emotion and drama that agents bring to the transactions, it's what the recipe for disaster is. That's why transactions go south, because of that, the emotions and the drama. And that's typically what hurts a negotiation when you think about it. I was just talking to one of our agents yesterday, same thing. Everything going smooth on her end as the listing agent. but because of the buyer's agent that she was dealing with was lacking the skills, lacking the experience, and it's been a very difficult transaction because of that. I mean, if you think about it, in most cases right now, we're putting 10, 20 offers in front of a seller. And if the agent is inexperienced and doesn't have the skills, then what do you think that transaction is going to go like? Make sense? Third point I want us to consider. We have to make sure that we understand that transaction is about the transaction and what the parties are looking to accomplish, and it's not about us. It's very important that we remove the emotion from the transaction. In other words, we got to keep our ego out of it. Point number 4 to consider. It's very important that we do not allow our commission to become part of the transaction. And here's what I mean. As I've had conversations as well, I see too many agents reducing their commission because of the transaction. So if you really think about it, anything that we do in life, when it comes to service or buying a product, I mean, there's always a fee attached to that. So same thing here. If we're creating the experience, we're giving great customer service, and we're executing and we're giving results, there's no reason that we should make our commission part of the transaction, because if we performed, therefore we deserve that. And let's remember that we never forget the value that we bring to the table and the value proposition and your worth. So it's very important that we keep that out of the transaction. Point number 5. It's very important that when you're in a transaction, if you're representing a buyer, it's very important that you put yourself in the seller's shoes and look at it from that perspective. And if you're representing a seller, it's very important that you also put yourself in the shoes of the buyer and look at it from the perspective of the buyer. It's very important that you see it from both points of view, because when you look at it from both sides, your perspective changes. Last point to consider, and I said it a little while ago, it's very important that we remove the ego out of the way. Never go into a transaction and say, you know what, the buyer and the seller are going to know who I am. I'm Luis Rodriguez. I'm a real estate agent. So it's very important that we remove the ego out of the way. I have a very short and sweet conversation with you guys, but this is probably the hardest thing. In this business, you're not going to take every listing. You're not going to get every offer accepted. We have to accept that we're not going to win all the time. So do not be attached to the outcome. It's very important that we show up professionally dressed, ready to go every day, ready to win. It's very important that we start asking great questions. It's very important that we start becoming great listeners. And it's very important that we come prepared every single day. This market that we're in, we're just finding ourselves, at very interesting times. I mean, some of us are working, with buyers, and it's become very challenging. And I start saying right now that we're really going to start showing what we're truly made out of. Are we really the professionals that we say we are? Are we taking the level of action that we should be taking? Are we really becoming relentless and attacking our careers in a very positive way to strive to get better every single day? So I'm going to negotiate with all of you guys, because here at Everest, I mean, think about what we do every single day here. We're all here, 7 a.m. California, 8 a.m. out in Utah. We're definitely committed, and I know we want to win. But I want to negotiate and challenge us. How are we showing up every day? Are we truly taking advantage of what our culture offers? And only you know the answer to that. But I always say this: new day, new shot, new day of opportunity. And if we're not happy where we're at right now with our businesses, and guess what? You can make a decision right now, turn it around, and start winning like right now. So I would love for us to, if that hasn't been the case, we start showing up tomorrow in every part of our life, just ready to win. Okay. So with that being said, let's go ahead and close it out now.